If I needed to improve my brain performance in 30 days, this is exactly what I'd do. I'm going to lay out the actual individual things, and then I'm going to lay it out in terms of a schedule. As a matter of fact, I have done this. I've just done it in shorter consolidated periods of time. So this is legit what I have done and what I would do if I needed to optimize for my brain. So let's go ahead and jump into it. And after today's video, I put a link down below for something called Armra. This is a colostrum, and it's the only colostrum that's on the market that uses a biopotent technology. So they use a cold extraction method. So they're able to treat it in a cold fashion so it doesn't denature the actual colostrum itself. This is really important because there are over 400 bioactive compounds in colostrum. And when you heat it, you denature those, you break those down. The benefit of colostrum is not the fact that it's just a protein-based thing that helps your gut. No, it's the fact that it's a living food. It's not even a supplement, it's more of a food. So Armra has really been making a lot of waves in the colostrum world lately, and you're starting to see it everywhere. But that link down below is for 30% off if you go to tryarmra.com/Delauer. 30% off using that link. And this is something, if you take care of your gut, it directly affects your brain. We've heard of the gut-brain axis. It all starts in the gut. And Armra, definitely a gut-focused, gut-centric food. That link down below. We're going to start off easy here. The first thing that I would do is I would increase creatine dose. Here's why. Creatine is going to first saturate the muscles and actually the liver. The brain sort of gets the kind of sloppy seconds in a way. Like it gets just what's left over. And there's an interesting thing we need to be aware of. Creatine doesn't efficiently cross the blood-brain barrier. It doesn't completely not go across, but it is restricted. So you need more to get the job done. I don't personally like taking 20 or 30 grams of creatine. That's a whole lot because I start to retain some water. So there's a couple things that you can do. For one, like 15 to 20 grams is probably a good place to be if you needed to do it temporarily to increase that brain function. Okay, another thing that you can do, which sounds counterintuitive, is you actually combine it with about 500 milligrams of sodium. There's this thing that's called the sodium chloride dependent creatine transporter A8. So creatine, in order to cross the blood-brain barrier, actually needs a sodium gradient. So it actually needs a little bit of sodium to properly get across the blood-brain barrier. And it does make a difference. As a matter of fact, there was a study I referenced in another video a while back, a 47% increase in creatine uptake into the brain when sodium chloride levels are adequate and when magnesium and calcium is intracellular, meaning you have enough magnesium and calcium on board too. So it's very important. Electrolytes, adequate sodium with your creatine. Within like a 15-20 minute window of taking that creatine, it can really help out the absorption. The second thing that I would do goes in line with the creatine. Okay, with creatine in the brain, make no mistake, it is arguably becoming more of a brain supplement than anything else. But there is something that is called GAA. Okay, GAA, you can look it up, very inexpensive, and it is the immediate precursor to creatine. And I just filmed a number of videos on GAA because I have just become so blown away by the research. There was a new 2024 study, it was like the end of 2024. It was an RCT crossover design where they actually looked at the blood oxygen saturation. So they took a look at using magnetic resonance and they were measuring blood oxygen saturation. They found when GAA was combined with creatine, it significantly increased the amount of oxygen to the particular region of the brain being used, mainly to the prefrontal cortex. This is not like small scale stuff. This is very legit. We see strong evidence that GAA, this precursor to creatine, even without creatine, will increase the brain levels of creatine by 12% in the white matter, 9% in the gray matter, and 17% in the cerebellum. So we're talking legit increases in brain creatine levels, which is fundamentally required for our brain because our brain demands so much energy. It takes up over 20% of our energy demand in that few pound little thing. Blows me away. So combining 2 to 3 grams of GAA with your creatine. Next up, I would have blueberries and I would eat a lot of them. And when you have blueberries in their whole food form, you have what is called the food matrix working to your advantage. So you have not just the blueberries, but you have the right spectrum of carbohydrates and everything to help them absorb. These polyphenols known as anthocyanins, I want you to think of them as antioxidants with a homing device. That's the way that it is. It's like they have a GPS, right? And they increase brain-derived neurotrophic factor directly into the brain. Anthocyanins can cross the blood-brain barrier. Could you take a supplement or an extract? Sure, but I am a firm believer that the whole food source is great. So how much should you have? For me, legit like a cup. which isn't that much in the way of carbs, believe it or not. So like a cup of blueberries, ideally in the morning. Number 4, every 2 weeks, I would do a 36-hour fast. Fast however much you want, in between. Like if you want to do these little like 16, 18-hour fasts on the daily or a couple times a week, that's fine. But the real benefit is going to come after 24 hours. Autophagy doesn't even kick in until like 16 hours to 20 hours, realistically. Then above 24 hours, you have a heightened amount of ketones and you have substrate switching that's occurring. The bottom line is it's called a monk fast. 36-hour fasting done infrequently is a sweet spot where you get metabolic benefit, brain benefit, ketone benefit, brain energetics benefit, and a number of other cellular benefits. So doing that every 2 weeks during this 30-day period. So that would be 2 total 36-hour fasts. I have videos on how to break those fasts. I'm not going to go into details here, but trust me, it just works. The next one, number 5, is having 2 tablespoons at minimum of C8 MCT oil. Okay, C8 is going to cross the blood-brain barrier a little bit better in terms of how it's actually fueling with ketones, right? So you're going to get converted into ketones even if you're not in ketosis. We've seen evidence that independent of the whole ketone thing, MCT oils regulate what are called network stability, or what is called network stability. This is the ability for the brain to communicate together. So different regions of the brain need to talk. They need to be able to communicate. Super, super, super important. And we've heard the saying, a calm brain is a fast brain. A network stable brain is a calm brain that can move fast. It's sort of like, imagine how you feel on your best day ever mentally, right? You feel clear, you feel calm, you don't feel reactive. That's network stability talking. Next up is a simple multivitamin, ideally a methylated multivitamin, and ideally one that's not using things like cyanocobalamin, using things like methylcobalamin, just a good quality multivitamin. I will say that a couple that are really good, Bomar Nutrition has a good one, and MitoCore. Those are 2 really good multivitamins. The reason that a multivitamin becomes important is the brain just doesn't work well on nutrient gaps. Look, I understand the importance of calories. I really, truly do. But one of the things that I think the calorie thing has done for people is it has taken the focus off of nutrient value, okay, and nutrient density. The brain just can't handle these nutrient gaps all the time, right? It's almost better to just fast than it is to just deprive your body of nutrients. Do you think that the body would operate optimally if we have these nutrient gaps? I just firmly believe that keeping nutrition stable and using a multivitamin now and then is going to be effective. Number 7 is binaural beats. And now we got getting into woo-woo land, but binaural beats are legit. Okay, our brain has specific brain waves. I know that this is something that you don't necessarily want to hear because it sounds woo-woo. I'm not even talking about the Schumann resonance and that whole world, although that's legit too. I'm talking about the actual brain waves that we have. Our brain taps into certain hertz under different states, alpha waves, theta waves, delta waves, okay? This is very common and very real, and neuroscience has documented it. Binaural beats essentially create 2 different sounds in each headphone that ultimately make it so that your brain builds up the delta to equal the certain hertz it needs to be at. That's complex. Bottom line is they help recalibrate your brain to a certain hertz. So for 15 to 30 minutes in the middle of the day, try doing like 8 to 12 hertz if you want to be more focused. If you're looking for more calm and memory, then you want to be more in the theta waves, maybe 4 to 7 hertz. And you can just go on Spotify, you could go on Apple Music, whatever, YouTube, and just find binaural beats for certain hertz ranges. Trust me, the brain likes it. You feel different afterwards. It's a state shift. I mentioned binaural beats instead of meditation because when you talk about meditation, it goes in one ear and out the other. Binaural beats is like a way for people to almost gamify meditating. So yes, meditate if you like to meditate. Do breath work if you do breath work and you're used to it. But binaural beats is a great way to sort of gamify that. Next up is sauna 3 times per week. And sauna at a decent heat, if possible, even take a hot bath is going to be better than maybe an infrared sauna. I love infrared saunas, but it's different. We need the high heat here. Why? Because we're trying to help with what's called lymphatic movement, lymphatic drainage. So we've heard of the lymphatic system, right? The lymphatic system moves lymph around the body. So what happens is like you need to foam roll, you need to like slap and do these things. You need to get things moving. You need to actually work out to get lymph moving because the heart doesn't circulate lymphatic fluid. But then there's this thing called the glymphatic system, which is where cerebral spinal fluid actually goes up and flushes metabolites in your brain. It's literal brainwashing. So the glymphatic system flushes the brain, happens when we sleep, but it can also happen when there's more intracranial pressure, which comes from a high heat sauna or sitting in a hot bath where you're immersed in hot water, and you do this until you're getting pretty hot, and you'll find that blood flow is going to increase to your brain. That glymphatic system has that extra intracranial pressure to help move it and flush it. This is really important to flush brain metabolites and to improve sleep. Very, very important. Do it 3 times per week during this 30-day period. Then we have red light therapy, directly transcranial, so directly on the head. So have I lost my mind? Am I reaching? Is this too much? No. Like it or hate it, red light gets through our tissues and can even get through our skull. Just like you're not going to like this, EMF can too. And the literature is pretty strong. EMF probably isn't the best thing for us. 5G is probably not the best thing for us. Do we freak out about it? Maybe not, because what are we going to do? But with red light, we can take the same concept and know that we are getting something good. It penetrates the tissue, it gets into the mitochondria within the brain, it can help what's called cytochrome C oxidase, and if you go down the quantum energetics piece and the quantum biology piece, there's even photon tunneling and actual brain quantum changes that occur with electrons moving through the mitochondria, essentially teleporting. Sounds insane. It does sound insane. All of quantum physics sounds insane if you don't go into it. But reality is, light is energy for our cells. Light is energy. Our cells emit biophotons. We need to drop the ego on this stuff and realize that the brain will respond to light. So red light directly on your head, you don't have to do it for long, 5-10 minutes, will work. High intensity interval training. This is important for a couple of reasons. You need to touch that intensity void, okay? And the reason that you do that is because it resets some dopamine sensitivity. When you do these hard sprints, you actually move your dopamine baseline. You move it back so that you require less to get a dopamine hit. If you are doing easy things all the time, you keep pushing the dopamine boundary the other way, where you need more and more and more to get a hit. If you do the hard thing and you allow yourself to do that, even touch the void, you get to this point where you reset your dopamine sensitivity, and you will notice you use your phone less, you are stimulated less, you don't get overstimulated, you don't get reactive, it's effective. So here's the schedule in which I would break it down. First thing in the morning, start fasted, have coffee with MCT oil, okay? Hopefully that doesn't make you have to run to the bathroom and be seatbelted to the toilet, but that's something that you do. You start your day with that. Then if you can, go and do your HIIT after you've had that. That's going to increase BDNF, help your brain out. Post-workout, have your blueberries. Have that cup of blueberries, maybe a whey protein shake, whatever. Have the blueberries earlier in the morning whenever possible. This would also be the time that you would have a minimum of 3 grams of GAA and a minimum of 5 grams of creatine, ideally 10. All happening in the morning. Then go throughout the rest of your day. And then around lunchtime, whenever you eat your lunch, sit down for 10 or 15 minutes and put headphones on and do binaural beats. Just do it. See what happens. See how you feel afterwards. Evening time is when you'll take the multivitamin. It's also when I would have you sauna. Sauna in the evening is going to improve sleep. We see that across the board. So you get that glymphatic system going, and then when you go to sleep, you get that clearance. So 3 times per week, you're going to sauna for this 1-month period. And if you can't sauna, use a hot bath. As hot as you can handle without burning yourself. And then of course, remember that every 2 weeks, you're gonna do a 36-hour fast. If you're familiar with fasting, you could do it weekly, but I would recommend just starting it out in this case. So as always, keep it locked in here on my channel. If you want more videos like this, let me know. I'll see you tomorrow.